Okay, so it's a new day and all of the electrics are in. All of the light positions have been confirmed. I have run cables for some external lights that will go through there, and I will be having an external socket down in this corner so that can punch through there, and also one in the far side over there as well. So I think I've got everything done, and I think that I found a switch that will allow me to turn the lights, the outside lights, on and off with a remote control from the house. I can just go boop, and they can be on a time sensor as well. So I think that's what I'm going to do, because I want them to kind of look after themselves. I don't want to have to come all the way down here to turn them on. I want them to come on while I'm walking down. So the next job today is to plasterboard the ceiling. I brought some plasterboard down yesterday, and I have made these what are called dead men. So these, you put the plasterboard up, and then you put these up, and it will hold your plasterboard in position while you screw it up. So that's going to make life a bit easier, and I've got a little bit of help from my brother today, so that's cool. Yeah, I guess let's just get some plasterboard on the ceilings and close this bad boy up. So as you can see, the plasterboard is all up on the ceilings, and all the cables for the lights have been pulled through. So we're really beginning to make great progress inside now. So the next job is to plasterboard the internal walls. I suppose there is some debate about whether you should have a vapor barrier on the inside or the outside. Obviously we've got one on the outside of the building, and I'm not going to put one on the inside of the building. That's not to say that you shouldn't or you should. I'm just choosing not to. Having built several of these offices before in the past, or these buildings in the past. I've never had any problems doing it this way in the south of England with the climate that we have. We don't have loads of heating going on in here, you know, we have sort of ambient background heating, so it doesn't get like super hot in here, so we don't get loads of condensation or moisture. But you might want to do it differently, and that's totally cool. So the next thing to do, yeah, is I've got all the plasterboard in, so I'll just clear a bit of space and start plasterboarding the walls, which should be a nice straightforward job. Let's get on with it. Okay, so cutting a piece of plasterboard is pretty straightforward. All you really need is a tape measure, a knife and a straight edge. Once you've measured the length of the plasterboard that you need, you just measure it onto the plasterboard, and I use my knife just to mark the measurement and leave a little mark like that, and then I do the same at the bottom. 288, and then I get my straight edge and I can rest it on the floor. If you've got a long enough one, you can rest it on the floor in the right place against the mark, and again at the top against the mark, and I'll use my foot to hold it in place and my hand at the top to kind of clamp it in, and then fairly firmly push and cut, make the cut. Then what you have to do is you have to sort of pull it out and get behind it, and then along the break here you can kind of, with a little bit of force, you can just pull it and it will snap. Then I get my knife and I run it up the crease from behind like this. And then that just comes away and you're left with a fairly straight cut. So if you're screwing plasterboard to a stud wall like this, or in the hole of the shed, then it's really important before you place it up against the wall that you mark on the ceiling where each of your timbers is, because you won't be able to see them once you've done it, and you also have to mark them on the floor. That way when you put the board up, you know where your lines are to make sure that you screw it in the right place. Let's go. So once you've put your board up where you want it, when I do it, I leave a little gap at the bottom, and I have a like a lever, I suppose, like a, I don't know what it is, it's just a little lever, and I can put my foot on that, and then that lifts the board up tight with the ceiling, and I can keep my foot on that, and it keeps the board in the position that I want it, leaving my hands free to get a couple of screws in. So I normally try and put a couple of screws at the top first, and that will be enough. And that'll be enough to hold it in position, and then from there I'll get a couple in the side where I can see it, I get my pencil and my level, and I'll just mark where I put the first screw, which is in line with the mark that I put on the ceiling, and I'll just get the level, and then just draw a straight line down, and the same in the next one along. Continue these down to the marks on the floor that I made. And then you know where you've got to screw. Now I will normally put a row of screws in the middle and then split each half into 3. So each piece will have 7 screws. So I just had to count that. And then you just screw it up. So that is kind of half of this room lined. I've got this offcut down here, which will do above the door in one piece, and I've got a couple of strips over there that will go up the sides, so that's great. But what we've got is a few things have changed, so I've got to make a few little adjustments here. We're going to have a screen in the gym side so that we can play, like, you know, YouTube and whatever, so you can sort of work along with workouts and stuff. So I've got to put a pattress somewhere in here to pick up the mount for the TV and a power supply, and we've got some heaters, and I know one's going on the other side, so I need to put a socket down there, so I need to adjust these. I need a socket up here for the TV, and then in here there will be another heater, but obviously having applied all of this already, then it's sort of limiting my space of where I'm going to put the heater. But I think it might be better off tucked under like one of the workbenches so that it's out of the way. So I'm thinking here, so they'll be opposite one another, and that just needs a plug socket as well. So I've got 1, 2, 3 plug sockets that I've got to adjust here, but that should be fairly easy because I can just adjust this part of the ring main. So this can go into the low socket, and then I can create another one back up to here, and then this one carries the ring on. So it's not a big problem. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to do now with the Patris. I'm going to go to the other side, mark it up, and then come back in here once I know exactly where it's going to go. Let's go. So I've just finished doing the Patrices for the TV and the radiators. I've got these infrared radiant panels, and they're just electric, so they're pretty straightforward to fit. So I've put in the Patris to hold them so I can fix the two, and I've put a plug socket in down there for the other side, and another plug socket here for this side. And I've just run a spur from this plug to here, which will be for the TV. So that's pretty much ready. One thing, because we've got the TV going, monitor going here, we don't really want to see the cables, so I'm gonna have to cut something in through here. In the other room behind here, there was going to be shelves, so I'm going to put another socket in here, and then run like a bit of conduit, or I think I might have some waste pipe in the garage. I'm going to put that in so we can run a HDMI cable through. But the problem with that, you see, is that the technology is changing all the time. So, you know, what might be USB to C to HDMI today, in a few years' time, will be something else. So if I've got a little conduit in there, we can just pull a new cable through, and then the whole setup will still work. So that will be tomorrow probably, and then we'll finish cutting the insulation for that wall, get that all boarded, do a bit of tidying up here, get this wall in and plasterboarded, and then I've got a week off before the plasterer comes. So let's get this all tidied up, and then we can have a sit down. Let's go. Okay, so I finished all of the sterling board on the walls. I've still got to put some more screws in each one down. I've just done the centre line, the top line and the bottom line. So I've got a few more screws to put in. but I just wanted to sort of get it to this stage to use as much of the material up as possible, so I'm sort of clearing some space as I go, because as you can see, it's an absolute tip in here. So I'm gonna have a bit of a tidy up, and then I've got a wall to build in here and plasterboard that. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna get on with in the next section, and yeah, and then it will be ready, and I've got the plaster all booked in now, so I don't really have a lot else to do until the plasterer comes and sorts that out. So yeah, let's just build that wall and get it plasterboarded, and then we can forget about it for a couple of weeks. Peace.